Hello and welcome to Student Focus. I'm Ab Catalan, an editor of Perspective magazine.
And I'm Niall Johnson, the President of Politics Society here at Warwick. We are joined today by Michael Kynaston, Claire Laslett, Liam Jackson and Will Spur.
This is the first edition of Student Focus, our bi-weekly politics TV show in which we will be talking about current affairs and international affairs. One of the main talks of the day right now are the Paris attacks, the attacks in Paris and in Beirut. So Niall Johnson here has some questions prepared. And just as a reminder, this is our first show, so bear with us if we do make any mistakes.
Yeah, we've seen that President Hollande has come out and said that the attacks by ISIS were a sort of war that they had waged against France and Western values. Liam, I'll come to you first. How long do you think it is until ISIS's war comes to the UK?
Well, that's a very interesting question actually, because how do you define war? This is a new type of war we haven't seen before. In the days of Al Qaeda, anything like that, it's a completely new war. It's a thing we just don't know, and how do we prevent this? The atrocities in Paris, in Beirut, in Ankara, all across the globe. It's out there, and we don't know. The question is not, when's it going to happen, but how to prevent it to happen.
Do we think that something's definitely going to happen? Because as we saw after 9/11, Al Qaeda said that was just a drop in the ocean, that first attack, but nothing on such a scale followed. Will, I'll bring you on this. Do you think ISIS will follow up with a further attack?
When you're against something as abstract as terror, then obviously it's going to be present as whether it's what you attribute to being that terror. Now, is there going to be a follow-up? Well, we've already seen that there is a real following of Daesh, don't mind if I call them that, in Europe, and so the way they function is by having these indiscriminate attacks. Now, whether it's something that we should really be worried about in our daily lives, that's a different question, but certainly I think this probably won't be the last of what Europe will see of such attacks, unfortunately.
There's been a lot of discussion around intelligence and how it's potentially failed in France. There was the man who'd been living there on the terror watch list for 5 years and had sort of not been monitored closely enough. Claire, do you think there was a major failure in intelligence, or do you think that it's a case of intelligence can't cover everyone all of the time?
I think it is the latter. It's hard to get all of this all of the time, and both Paris and London have been on super high security alert. There's a lot going on, and I don't know. I just think it was all kind of bubbling up, and it just happened.
In regards to intelligence, President Obama came out saying that the intelligence ties between America and France will be reinforced right now. Do you think events such as these can be used as an excuse by politicians to get more information out and which somewhat might put civil liberties at risk?
I think they definitely can. When you look at the actions of Tony Blair, George Bush in the wake of 9/11, you saw intelligence used to infringe upon people's privacy in a way that's never been seen before, and that's almost become standard now. And so you worry, what's the increase going to be? I mean, at what point do you get to a stage where, like a 1984-like state, where phone calls are monitored, everything like that? And it definitely can get too much. And like Claire said, I don't think it's an issue of not having enough intelligence or intelligence being used poorly. I think when it's human error, isn't it? You can't monitor everything that everyone's doing all the time.
Liam, how do you think we're going to find that balance? Because obviously in London, one of the arguments I think Theresa May was making at the weekend was that we have the most CCTV cameras in the world in one city. Do you think that a lot of people will be following the London sort of setup across Europe?
I suppose so, yes. I refute the idea that it's actually going to make a difference, because it's been proven time again, especially in the internet, where everything is now being fast tracked into being all stored by the government to be seen. I can't see a way where that's actually going to combat terrorism. And I don't think, in Europe there will be heightened security intelligence, there'll be more powers given to authorities to snoop on data, but I really don't see where this is actually going to stop terrorism on the streets.
Sure. Will, do you echo Liam's views? Do you think CCTV makes a difference?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a terrible event like this, I think forgive me for putting out my own view on it, but you've got to be very careful not to just fall into the mantra of don't think, just act. Think, okay, well, we've had this. Let's react by ramping up security X amount without really considering, okay, what was the structure that allowed this situation to occur, that allows these situations to occur the world over? How can we challenge that? Let's not just dive in on, let's, I don't know, go to war. Let's ramp up CCTV. Let's monitor every conversation. It's something, I like that it's prompted discourse, but we just need to be careful, how we undertake it, how we react to it.
Sure. From an EU perspective, we saw that Germany intercepted a car travelling through filled with weapons, but did not re-communicate this to the French. Could this be a watershed moment for the EU in terms of finding a cause that can unify all countries, and so the EU can be one of the bodies fighting terrorism head on? Get you on this mic.
I suppose fear is one of the most powerful motivators, isn't it? So, for many countries in the EU, like Germany, when you look at Paris, and we were just asking, could it happen in London? Berlin could be thinking, could it happen in Berlin, etc. So, you could see that it would act as a stimulus for them all to work together better. Because, when you're facing this kind of level of danger, and it's brought right to your doorstep like this has been, then yeah, it definitely could act as a motivator.
Bring up on that point, if the whole point of the EU was to enhance solidarity between European countries, and if we got a position where this is being undermined, especially in a time where the European Union is facing detrimental crises, hopefully this is a wake-up call for not just the EU, all leaders to realise that we should put above the interests of people instead of the states.
Forgive me for disagreeing a little bit, but with regard to building a notion of European solidarity, there's a real worry I have that we're going to create this kind of narrative of us and them, and Daesh versus Europe, Islam versus the liberal democracy. And when you start to have this kind of us-them narrative, you look for concrete things to pin it on, and you hear people start saying Muslim countries do X and Islam is X, and the Daesh militants are a very very small group. They're total fanatics, completely removed from what they're supposed to represent. We shouldn't let attacks like this firstly be blown out of proportion to create this kind of narrative of a great war, because that would be exactly playing into their hands. If that makes sense to you guys.
You also you see how the way the EU reacted to the immigration crisis. There was no unity there. They really needed to figure that. The EU, the UN all needed to figure out their own standpoint on it before they even made any actions, and I just think this is going to be the same sort of issue. If we want to have a voice, we have to figure it out before, and it's just all going so fast at the moment. It's quite scary.
Sorry, go ahead. It would be important to put this in the backdrop of the Syrian crisis that's been going on, the immigration crisis. There's been this huge influx of Syrian refugees escaping these similar acts of terror and all this war. So do you think that these Islamist terrorists can be somewhat associated with Syrian refugees coming in, which lots of people are pinning problems, and this can create a lot of social problems and a lot of discrimination within the European society against Islam? And is this a problem that we should be worrying about, so that there's not these certain discriminatory rhetoric?
Definitely. I don't know if you've seen the e-petition that's been put on the government website, which is said close all borders, which usually happens in the department website, always have nutter petitions on there. But it says close all EU and British borders until ISIS have been destroyed. And then if you read the description, it does talk about how they are somehow they are infiltrating into the Syrian refugee crisis and planting their own. That might be happening, but at the same time, that is no excuse for us to turn our backs on a humanitarian crisis that has been waging mainly because of Western intervention.
I think it's important to take into account there are so many migrants coming through. I think we're seeing 10,000 a day going into Germany, and just a handful of those have happened to be ISIS militants. And it's an interesting idea to turn your back on those who are actually fleeing terrorism at the same time. It makes it such a tricky situation.
You also find out that the ones who are ISIS militants, sorry to be an echo chamber, but they are often reported by the refugees, because no one hates, I say no one hates ISIS more than the refugees, but I know some of them are fleeing from the Syrian government. But still, they're fleeing violence is the main thing you've got to remember.
I suppose the final point to come on to before we go to Alp's interesting picture round is military strikes. David Cameron has come out and said that France's war is our war, and France has had a very aggressive rhetoric thus far, coming out stating that they are in a state of war. So if military strikes were to follow by France, do you think that David Cameron will follow straight in? No?
How could he? Jeremy Corbyn is not going to comply with such measures, and rightly so, to be fair. It will just create more desperation, more refugees, and it will just amplify and circulate the problem a bit further. All this rhetoric may be happening, but it's just I don't. And David Cameron's also come out and said, we're not going to be bombing Syria without the support of the Labour Party, and it's
So
not
that
going to happen.
implies Corbyn's got full back of his Labour Party.
There's been a lot of
every
speaking out
possibility of
against
people.
him because of his view on this.
Yeah.
Cameron's trying to go back and get the anti-Corbynist Labour ministers to.
But even the Shadow Foreign Secretary Hilary Benn now has also said that he will not be supporting, and he's seen as the moderate of the party. So maybe I just can't envisage, and even the rebels in the Labour Party coming back and having a cross-parliamentary support.
But it's interesting looking at the political position of it in relation to military action, because Hollande in the past was described as a big fluffy marshmallow. He was a very lefty socialist, and because of the things that have happened to his country, he's become this war chief, with his very aggressive rhetoric recently. But you have to consider that part of that is done because of his political position. He's in a lot of trouble himself, facing rival from ex-Prime Minister Sarkozy, and he has to appear strong to his people. He has to, want revenge. It's what a lot of the country want. And so, like Cameron's human politics, he also, his position. Human politics, yeah.
I agree completely.
Thank you all for all your wonderful perspectives on this.
Yes, thank you.
Here we also have a cartoon which has been submitted by Ben Waters, classics students at Cambridge, and I'll just give it out to all of you. And we just very quickly discuss what you think this is meant to represent. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, just I guess again, here is the cartoon, so that the audience.
Caption competition.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say
More
that is
like
Jeremy
Corbyn.
Corbyn.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how you got that one.
Jeremy Corbyn
What
pulling a
is-
swan from a cake.
Yes,
Some goose, isn't it?
it's a swan. It's a swan.
They've got my
Easy if it was a
party.
dove, because doves in peace.
Yeah.
Dove is
Getting
Yeah, but that's so Corbyn to
The cake is specifically a Black Forest gâteau.
Ooh.
French.
Yeah,
French,
French.
yeah.
French.
Okay.
This is challenging.
This is a challenging one.
Yeah, I feel like
Do you
there's
know
a
the
Thank you,
saying.
Mr.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So I'm saying about pulling geese from cake.
Yeah, is that a
Yeah.
saying?
So, basically, what our good old Ben Waters is trying to express here is that Jeremy Corbyn is pulling a lion swan out of a Black Forest gâteau. And this is him saving British socialism from being corrupted by the luxuries of the Blairite New Left.
I was just going to say that.
Tip of my
Yes,
tongue.
Fantastic.
Interesting. Okay,
Thanks,
well,
thanks
that's
to
a
Ben
bombshell to
Waters.
end on.
Thanks to Ben Waters for his submission.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back in 2 weeks' time to discuss more international affairs. I've been Niall Johnson.
I've been Al Catalan, and thanks to our panel.
Thank you very much. See you guys later.